One of the things that we do here is help high income professionals be more productive. We help knowledge workers be more productive. We help individuals that have critical stakes, director and management level positions more productive. Now, what does it mean to be more productive? First off, I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations, where we help you transform business relationships into profits guaranteed. Now, how do we do this? Productivity is measured by your ability to produce. So we don't want to be producing just anything. We want to produce what the marketplace wants. We want to produce what our manager is asking us, and we want to produce work that is meaningful. As a knowledge worker, you very often have an understanding of the value of work. So if somebody gives you busy work and that's what your manager is asking you to do, that's what your client's asking you to do, and you're going through that busy work, you will have an emotional reaction to it because you know that this work is not driving a critical outcome. Now, how do you know that? Well, it could be that intuitively you understand what's the concept minimal viable product. So the concept of minimal viable product is we got a problem at hand, and what's the minimum resources, the minimum effort, the minimum solution that we can apply to reduce this problem. So it's like a knife in the neck bleeding problem. The triage function is kind of natural to IT professionals, to project managers, to knowledge workers, to folks who are in responsive positions. So that's your, the system. There's been a network failure and you're responding to it. Automatically, you're going to think, how can we make the most result or the most impact in the shortest amount of time? And again, that's a function of productivity. It's not typically measured by corporations. Very often, if you have a strong program manager or a strong executive, they can send you down a path that doesn't produce. And so that has emotional distress. That has emotional frustration. And I don't know if you've ever been in the situation, but many subscribers have written and said, look, I'm in an environment where I'm surrounded by idiots. Now, it's literally been said like that because they have the feeling that they have really good ideas. They know what needs to be done. They have experiential learning of things to get done. And then some kid comes along and says, well, let's do it this other way. And this other way sounds really good, but fundamentally has a lot of flaws. And nobody's really investigating the plan before they get started. They just jump it in and they're getting started. And they're not even getting that good solid impact up front like we talked about with the triage. They're not even getting a lot of traction in the beginning, and you start hearing this, well, if we just do it more. Well, there's nothing in life that if you just do it more, you're going to get better results unless you've planned and focused your effort to concentrate resources on a path of success, which I call the critical success factors, or on a path where we're producing some kind of incremental solution. So let's talk about the critical success factors. One of the implementation tools that can help you as a high-income professional, as a knowledge worker, as somebody who needs to be responsive yet impactful, is what's called a critical success factor list. So I do this very often just grab a notepad, and in fact, I have one of these notepads in front of me. And across the top it says critical success factors. Now sometimes getting things down on paper with an actual pen, the physical writing, your brain is saying to your body, I don't want to spend all day here writing, so what's the most important thing to put down on paper? Where if you're typing, I type 90 words a minute. I don't need 90 words to express something, so when I use a pen, it forces me to slow down. So this is a physiological technique that you can use. And I also figure that if I got a notepad in front of me, that I need to write down the critical success factors on the front side of the page. And when I hit the bottom of the page, I don't have any more room. So I've got to stop. Now, why is that important? Well, when we talk about critical success factors, these are actions you're going to take or conditions you're going to resolve in order to reach a specific goal. So the title is Critical Success Factors. Right below that, I wrote target, and I wrote what the goal is. Now, this could be critical success factors to solve a problem, to reach a goal, to achieve something in life. And then after that, I make a list of what needs to be done. And these are the most important, the most critical, the big rocks, they say, that need to be accomplished. And again, I physically constrained myself to the front of a piece of paper on a notepad. I've used a pen to physically constrain myself so I can't write 1,000 words or a Word document that never is going to get looked at again. I have to do this on a piece of paper. I've also created a physical mnemonic to help me implement what is written here. Now, please listen carefully. This is rooted in psychology. This is rooted in the physiology of an individual. This is rooted in getting shit done. I know technology seems great, and a lot of folks are asking, what's the best app for tracking my time? What's the best app for project management? I'm telling you, a piece of paper and a pen is the best solution because of these constraints. Now, you might be saying, well, Justin, I don't want constraints. I want to release my brakes and achieve more and accomplish more in life. Okay, more is fine in the achievement when those achievements are clearly defined. So more money doesn't help solve a lot of problems. It gives you the resources to hire people to help you solve problems, but money in of itself doesn't solve the problem. Secondly, you could work yourself to death to earn the money, working 60, 70 hours a week. I've been there. Neglecting your family. I've been there. Neglecting your health. I've been there. I've seen people. I worked in one environment where there's a giant bullpen. It was literally like a football field. It was at AT&T Global Services. So we had a contract. IBM Global Services, AT&T Global Services. We're serving Fortune 100 companies. We're managing their DNS, their network, everything. There are people that would stand up in the middle of the room and have a heart attack. And we have procedurals for this. So this is a 24/7 environment. Somebody would stand up and have a heart attack. We'd execute the procedure. They'd get hauled off on a gurney, and then we'd go back to work. And most of the time, we'd still be working while we're dealing with somebody's very detrimental health issue. We had one guy under his desk screaming because he had kidney stones. So I don't know if you know this, but working in an office and sitting for long periods of time, and then especially consuming a lot of caffeine and a lot of the stress that goes on there, you will end up with kidney stones. And he's screaming under his desk. And we're hearing this, and he sounds like he is dying. The dude is passing kidney stones under his desk, meaning he didn't get up and go use the bathroom. He is wet his pants and passing kidney stones in the middle of this room with, there's probably 200 or 300 people in there. And the same thing, we enacted our procedural. We contact the front desk. The front desk sends over the ambulance, and we're getting back to work. Now, again, we're working with, so my team in particular, we worked with the primary DNS server for IBM that if it goes down and packs millions and millions of servers, and it was a critical function environment. We were highly paid for it, but ultimately we were hurting ourselves physically in order to enact this. And I'll tell you what happened. Over time, we trained an India team. So we were in the United States, and we started training the people so that we could follow the sun. Because even our management realized with all the people, I guess they hit some threshold of heart attacks and kidney stones where they decided it would be better to have functional teams that rotated throughout the day rather than having one team working 24 hours a day. And so we trained these teams overseas. We trained these teams in the Philippines. We trained these teams in India. And then some idiot decided to let go of the U.S. teams, and because we're in this giant building, we're going to let go of the U.S. teams, and we're just going to use the foreign teams because they seem to be doing good enough work. Okay? You can't control the decisions of management. You can't control the idiocracy of these quick wins that these corporations try to do. But what you can is have a piece of paper and write down the critical success factors for your goal, achievement, or objective. So if you need to earn $175,000 a year and you want to work in a certain type of environment and you want to have a certain number of weeks of vacation and you want to design your lifestyle, you design it, but it needs to fit in the very first part of a piece of paper. How can you summarize it? How can you write the essentials? And then bullet point the 5, 8, 10 ideas that will fit on the rest of the paper that are necessary for you to drive forward. Now, what's important about these lists? Well, first off, I'll just name off a few things here that are kind of generic. So, for example, one of these bullet points says a success routine. What is a success routine? Okay, so I'm because you have limited space, I gotta paraphrase. Well, weekly bookkeeping, daily job search, because I do believe that you need to be ultimately looking for a new opportunity all the time. Publishing schedule, because in my case, I've got newsletters, I've got podcasts, I got other things that I do, and then regular social interactions. See, success isn't just what you do at the workplace. It's time with your family. It's social interactions to recharge and get new ideas. It's education and training. It is what is necessary from your intelligent individual, from your understanding, if you were consulting yourself, what is necessary to get the results done. Now, some of these items in here, and this is a very personal list, you don't have to share this with anybody, but some of these items in here, I put down the monetary value. So there's one item on here that's worth about $5,000, so that tells me I can put I can put about half of that into it to get that $5,000 gross off of that. Another item here is worth $19,000, so I need to make sure that I get in on that. And you can have these critical success factors on a project basis. You can have them for your personal self, but you got to have them. And again, this is different than journaling because it's telegraphing the actions that need to be done. It is constrained by a piece of paper, where a journal you might type a journal on the computer. You might type a journal in a little workbook where you can use 5 pages today if you're feeling emotionally, you really just have to get it all out. Or you can write on a paragraph in a journal. In this case, I want to fill a piece of paper and I want to start at the top and write critical success factors. Then below that, I'm going to have a statement of my goal, outcome, or objective. And then I'm just going to bullet point after that the actions that must be taken or the conditions that must be satisfied. And then finally, I'm going to put a little A, B, or C to prioritize that list. Now, it does you no good to have a list of 50,000 things that must be done. Okay, you roll those things up, you cluster them, you figure out the critical path, you write down the critical path, 1 or 2 lines of just brief statements. Reconcile rental utilities. And then after that, I give a little bit more detail. It takes no more than 2 lines. File documents and reduce clutter. I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of my office, but I've got piles of books. I've got piles of reports and materials and drafts and manuscripts and stuff that really ought to be in file cabinets and a little bit more organized. And seeing those things there are constant reminders that I've only published a handful of books, or that I've only put so many articles on the website, or that I had a great conversation with a client, and the client case materials and evidence and stuff need to be written up into a case study. Again, if those things are properly filed, it reduces distractions, it increases the ability to package those materials up and to support what I'm doing, and then ultimately I feel better. So again, critical success factors. What are the critical steps, the path necessary to solve the problem that you're trying to solve, to complete the work you need, and then prioritize them based on the quick wins? Because again, with all the things that go on in your life, you need the momentum of a quick win. I like to think about it as a triage. So something's happened that doesn't fit what you want to have happen. You've lost your job, for example. What are the steps that you're going to take to first continue the income, to reduce the expenses, and to ultimately get back to work? So again, I just did this in my brain based on a scenario that's familiar with a lot of my clients, because Google's laying people off these days, and a lot of these tech companies and financial services companies are laying folks off. Being able to do that takes you from discomfort, confusion, frustration, the emotional side of bad things happening, and drives you forward towards practical outcomes. Not solutions, but actual outcomes. And productivity is measured by outcomes. We'll give you one more situation. Let's say you have a project that's failing. The project is falling apart. The project is off track. What's your path to green? Write critical success factors on the top of the page. Describe what green looks like in a brief paragraph, and then start putting out some bullet points. One of the main things that I see when it comes to projects that have gone off the rails is, do we have the right resources doing the right work? Then we have to answer the question, what is the right work? And then ultimately, where are we at with deliverables? Do you see how easy this works? Now, one thing about doing this on paper is that it's going to train your brain so that you could do this very quickly without paper. So let's say you're in a planning meeting and the problem comes up, the problem is worthy of solving. You're on to automatically produce a problem statement. Then you're going to automatically start thinking about or discussing root cause. And then you're going to be able to, from the root cause and problem statement, describe the outcome desired, bullet point 4 to 5 things that you can do to immediately start addressing the situation, prioritize those things, and then boom, you're right back to work. Do you see how powerful this is? Now, again, you know that a lot of times when you got a group of people sitting around talking about a problem, the complexity of the problem and the intelligence of the group very often finds an unlimited number of solutions and then an unlimited reasons why those solutions are not valid. And then everybody's frustrated and pissed off, and it takes you 7 months to do something when with a tool like this, just grab a piece of paper. And again, this could be a whiteboard, this could be a piece of paper, but it has to have these constraints. 1, that you're physically writing on it. 2, that it only has so much space to write. And 3, you want to be able to get, you don't want to be able to get an unlimited number of points. You want to get down to the most important points. Now, we've done this to workshop problems when we're talking about risk management. We've done this to workshop business development issues, but you can workshop with yourself and family to get the results that you're looking for on a personal level. Inside Strategic Relations is about how you develop yourself and the interactions you have with others so that you can be more successful. This is one of the influence tactics that you use to influence your own behavior. But again, it's highly adaptive. That's one of the things that I do as I produce systems. But this system works the way your brain works. And so it is actually useful, meaning you're going to see this list. The list will be posted on the wall. Somebody might type it up and make a poster out of it, but you're ultimately going to get this done. And you may notice in the background of highly successful people, this critical success factors chart is very often on whiteboards or on those like stickies you put up on the wall or on a notepad that they're carrying with them when they go into a meeting. What are the critical success factors I need when I go into this negotiation? What are these critical success factors that I need to have happen for the desired outcome? Folks, these are powerful techniques. I know that once you learn them, they seem overly simplistic, but they are very powerful. They work the way our brain works, and they get you results. I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations, where we help you transform business relationships into profits. You will gain better influence over the resources that you have available to solve problems. You'll gain better influence over your ability to narrow the focus and spend more time solving the problem than stewing about the problem. And ultimately, you will increase your productivity beyond reasonable measure, beyond what others might expect. And this drives you towards leadership positions. If you have questions about this podcast, again, I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations. Visit our website at www.insidestrategicrelations.com and consider joining our newsletter and becoming a part of what we have here. But even then, if you just have a question, go to the contact page and ask your question. I'll see you on the next podcast. Again, I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations.